Hello, fellow mech warriors. Mage Leader here. I kind of wanted to be done with the whole demo team, community guidelines, Catalyst Game Lab situation once I finished the video on it. I was more than happy to help out when people asked for my help getting the word out about it. But honestly, making that video took so much out of me. It was incredibly stressful and all kinds of stuff. I dipped my toes into what some people consider to be investigative journalism, and by the end of it, with all the veiled comments from different people and just all the nonsense that I saw going into and around up until the release of that video, and then the fallout from it, which has mostly been positive feedback. I do want to say that's been great. There's been a lot of stuff, and it's kind of the reason why I took a vacation and haven't really uploaded much since then. But while I'm here trying to work on a video about the Yeoman, this drops. So this article came out yesterday, March 17th, 2024. And we've got an interview with Rem Alternis. This is our new community and marketing director for Catalyst Game Labs. This individual here was a big focus of that video, and I left him nameless in that video because I didn't want there to be any harassment of this individual, and I still don't, to be clear. But since then, he has gone around making himself even more public, and in this article outright admits to having done the things that I discussed in that video. So for those of you who were skeptical about Catalyst's intentions and how they handle their community, the proof is in the pudding. We're going to go through this article, and we're going to take a little look at what the new head of marketing and community, how exactly they handle their job. So let's take a little look-see here. So this article takes the format of an interview between Sean Murray, not that Sean Murray, and Rem from Catalyst. So we go through, the beginning is a lot of introduction, like, how did you get into Battletech, or with Catalyst, do you go way back? Short answer is no. Rem is not a big Battletech fan. Came in a little bit for the Shadowrun side, which, if you're familiar with Catalyst's history with Shadowrun, you should know that that's already a pretty big red flag. But the long and short of it is that Rem doesn't actually know a whole lot about Battletech and has played a couple games of Classic and a game of Alpha Strike, and read a couple books, and that's about the extent to which he's engaged with the whole thing. So we've got that going here. Let's keep moving down. You can read all this yourself. I'll have a link to the article in the description. But most of the stuff, comes through. Not a lot until we get down to around here. Let's see. So yes, this is where we wanted. So this is kind of a little bit of a reveal as to what Rem is up to on a daily basis here. So Sean says, let's see, expand things. You can be the content manager, someone else can deal with the community. You've only been in this job for a short time. What do you think is the most challenging part of marketing for Battletech? Rem says, I want to give a thoughtful answer here. I think probably one of the challenges is we're all a bunch of creatives. Everyone's so excited to work on what they're working on. Sometimes things get lost in the planning, and they're still trying to integrate me into their plan. So sometimes they forget to let me know what's coming and when it's coming. I think it actually happened just yesterday. There's a new Battletech book that just dropped, and I get the notification about it yesterday. So now it's like, alright, we gotta put that together. So this has been something that a lot of people have talked about with Catalyst, is their general lack of competency around running their business. You've hired your director of marketing, and you can't keep him informed of what products are coming out and when. this is the guy who's supposed to be drumming up hype for your products, and you're not letting him know? And he's not, by the same token, he's not going out and seeking out that information on his own, trying to find all that. There's a severe lack of communication within the company. So that's kind of its own little reveal there on its own. But now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this article. Sean says, it seems like that's a bit of a process. Alright, let's talk about something that was a bit of controversy recently. The Catalyst Community Guidelines came out last month, and if anybody's wondering what those guidelines are, they're available on the new Catalyst Discord. A lot of it is pretty standard, I would say. Be kind, stay on topic, no hate speech, no bullying, no spam, and respect privacy. There's blowback for one of the items being a discussion of real-world controversial topics as well as protecting the IP. Let's start with how community guidelines developed and who might have been consulted in their development. So, I'm going to say that Sarna has been trying to carry Catalyst's water for them quite a bit. They're kind of their news outlet at the moment, and Catalyst needs some water carried for them. They've had an entire set of issues recently, particularly with delivering one of their tier rewards from Kickstarter to Barnes & Noble early, so people can buy the new thing at Barnes & Noble before the Kickstarter's fulfilled, which is just hilarious. But let's get into Rem's answer here. Sure, it was a long process. So in June, there was the whole Reddit thing that happened. There was an issue with a fan pride anthology where someone had reached out to me and asked me to post about it, and I was like, sure, so I did. And then they posted it to Reddit, and it got deleted as being real-world politics. So there's a big uproar on the subreddit saying, well, why is Catalyst okay with this, but not Reddit? It's a little confusing, and I don't think that that's an accurate description of what happened there. But the gist of it is alright. And yeah, the Pride Anthology was deleted because it is real-world politics. You have, the flags and banners of a current-day social movement in our sci-fi setting. That's like the definition of politics right there. Congratulations, it's real world politics, which is against the rules in that subreddit. And why people would be like, well, why is Catalyst okay with this but not Reddit? It's a subreddit. It's run by people. It's not run by Reddit, the website. It's run by a moderator who opened the subreddit. Like, it's not a Reddit thing. So, like, why people would think that it was Catalyst in any way, shape, or form that was into this. Maybe they're confused as to why the moderator wasn't okay with something that Catalyst as a company was okay with pushing, but I mean, it's pretty clear when you look at the subreddit rules that it's just a matter of the subreddit and the subreddit's rule. And really, I would be willing to bet it was just a bunch of people screaming that they couldn't have their ideology there. So let's continue. It came to light that there was a lot of moderation against anything Pride-related. Yes, because it's real-world politics. Any minis painted in rainbow colors or flag colors got taken down, based. Some people even spoke up and said, I didn't even know it was a flag color and mine got deleted for it. Press X to doubt, but, I mean, ignorance of the rules is not an excuse. It never has been. So there was a pretty heavy hand in moderation in terms of anything LGBTQ related. Well, yeah, but like, it wasn't just LGBTQ, it was anything that was political, including that. So like, it wasn't one-sided, it's just, yeah, you can't post things that are real-world politics on either side. To my understanding, that's how it was run. There was a kind of uproar that happened, and I had a bunch of people reach out, tell me about it. Interesting. I was like, well, one of my initiatives Lauren wanted was more communities for Catalyst to participate in and make into official spaces. So I decided if the people want an official subreddit, we can do that. Okay. So a lot of people run off to Rem and ask, hey, can you do something about this? That's an interesting response. Why is it, if you can't post something in a subreddit that is privately run by fans, that your response is to run to the company or the company's employee and ask them to do something about it. You want them to intervene on your behalf and fix the problem. Bit interesting. That reveals a lot about the kind of people that were getting banned. Like, or not even like the people weren't getting banned, just their posts taken down. It reveals a lot about what those kind of people are like, what they do, what their default response is to this kind of thing. So I was away moving that weekend. I assigned someone to just go ahead and find mods and make it happen. And this is a common thing with Rem. Anytime there's any sort of problem with the BattleTech community, the community that he is supposedly managing, he claims ignorance and says, I wasn't there, I didn't hear about it, I don't know about it. Alright, sure. This is something that happens every time. He's conveniently not around or not informed about anything that happens. It's the same thing he said when they had the Kickstarter debacle, like, literally fucking yesterday. This company can't go a single day without fucking something up. Other than one moderator, I didn't know anybody. Yeah. So this was something that we reported on, right? Rem personally knew the big name moderator of the entire thing. Personally knew this person. We knew that. We reported on it. Now Rem comes along and admits it, that this person was known to them. Like, they corresponded. They talked back and forth. So, it's interesting. Let's see where it goes. They set it up. There was a great migration. By the end of the weekend, I got a message from the original Reddit owner that said, hey, I just caught up on everything that's going on. Holy crap, sorry about that. I'd love to not see the community fractured. I've already removed all of my mods. What can we do to bring this back together? Very, very strange that. I have my doubts as to whether or not that's how it went down. Your default response to the situation, before even talking to Catalyst and extending an olive branch to them here, is saying, I've already removed all of my mods. What? Why? Why did you remove the mods? Just, your knee-jerk response was to kick everybody? All of them? Were all the mods at fault here? That's a really strange thing to do. I don't believe that that's what happened in this order. Rem goes on to say, I don't use Reddit. It was before I would have ever been ready to jump into managing a subreddit or anything like that, so I didn't really want to fracture the community, and I know that's ultimately not the goal of Reddit. So I was like, well, maybe if we can get some community guidelines in place, and if you can follow those, it'll be a little clearer where Catalyst lines are in terms of what to talk about or not talk about. So Rem here says, okay, well, we can not fracture the community. I won't make the new subreddit if we put in our community guidelines and you follow our community guidelines. It's a bit of a shady deal there. That sounds to me like a bit of a threat. Assuming that it went down this way and not a bit differently, it still doesn't make Catalyst or Rem look very good. Because now you're setting up rules for this subreddit, and then it goes on. He was like, cool, can I have your moderators? And I was like, sure, you can reach out to them. So we did, and they all migrated over. This part here, I do not believe for a second. You want to tell me that this guy reached out and said, I've already fired my moderators, can I have yours? That doesn't cut the mustard for me. I don't believe that for a second. Let's back up a little bit and break this situation down. The subreddit is going through a moment. It's doing things that you don't agree with. It's privately run, and people in the community are coming to you for whatever reason, asking the company to fix it. So you create an official Catalyst-backed subreddit off to the side and encourage people to leave his subreddit and come over to yours. He comes to you and says, hey, I don't want this to happen. What can we do to make this work? I think what happened is Rem's response was, okay, we can keep them all together, but you need to use Catalyst's community guidelines, and you need to fire your moderators and have mine instead. That is the far simpler and more likely explanation of what has happened here. I don't believe this. This isn't how people work. I don't believe at all that the guy's default response to having an issue in his subreddit was to immediately remove all of his moderators and then approach Rem and beg him to give them his moderators. That doesn't make any sense. Whose logic follows that kind of pattern? Nobody does things like that. It wouldn't make sense to do that. You might come up and say, hey, I don't want the community to fracture. What can I do to make this work? If you're willing to follow the demands of the company, you may resort to removing your moderators. But that's an extreme measure. That's not a default response. That's like a desperation move. But that's what Rem claims. Either way, Rem outright admits that Catalyst meddled with the subreddit and changed the subreddit. Outright. Rem directly changed the fundamental structure and makeup of that subreddit, which we reported on. We said that's what they did. And some people didn't believe us, but Rem's come out here and just outright said it. Let's continue. From there, we closed the new Reddit, and everyone moved back to the old one, but we had the new moderators in place. But I don't own the Reddit, I'm not involved in the Reddit. Oh, you're not involved in the Reddit. Motherfucker, you set up the Reddit. The subreddit. You installed the moderators. You're about as involved in the subreddit as you can get. This person who runs it is a personal friend of yours, as are the new moderators. These are your people who have been put in charge of this. You are involved in the subreddit. Don't try to fucking gaslight us and say you're not involved in the subreddit. You are. There's one freelancer that's a moderator, and the rest of them are fans, so some of them are demo agents, I think. I've heard about one or two, but that's in terms of Catalyst's involvement. Yes, there are some demo team members in there. One of which being a particular one who has gone around doxing people that they don't like. That is one of the individuals I brought up in my video, who I'm still not naming, but you guys know who it is. Don't go after them, don't bother them, don't harass them. But I'm sure most people can pick up what's being put down here. It's seriously hilarious, this claim. Catalyst isn't involved in the subreddit. They completely changed the fundamental makeup of the subreddit and then step back and say, but we're not involved in it. The new people in there, they're our cronies that we were going to use to moderate our official subreddit, and we had them installed over on the other subreddit, so we would have been involved if it was on this one, but because they're over here instead, we're not involved anymore. It's ridiculous. Such a stupid claim. Problem was the new Reddit moderators wanted community guidelines that didn't exist, so we kind of looked at a couple of online communities that were pretty positive places and cobbled together something quickly for the time being, but I realized that we needed something that's gone through the process. We took that as a kind of starting point, added them a little more, and then partnered with a bunch of different people. We had a lot of reviews. We brought on the Battletech, Shadowrun forums, had them review our guidelines. They all had... When did this happen? I'm on the Battletech forums. I don't remember this being a thing. It's possible it just slipped under my radar, but I don't remember there being a review process for this. What I remember is them suddenly appearing out of the aether, and then anyone who disagreed with them got blocked or banned. That's what I remember happening, but hey, yeah. I could be wrong. Somebody can post a link to that original post where they were, looking for feedback and approval on the community guidelines. I never saw it. Maybe it happened. I never saw it. We took that as a kind of starting point, added them a little more, and then partnered with a bunch of different people. Who? A lot of reviews brought about... Okay, so I already read that. They all experienced that we didn't as a new community. Those moderators... Okay, so they took it to the moderators of the forums, not the actual people who use the forums. Okay, that sounds about right. Those moderators gave us feedback on what they've seen or not seen and how that could work. We also sent it to the demo team. They have a robust operations guide to compare it to that and see what the differences are. That part I did get some information on. The thing is, each of these companies is also communities, is also different. So we wanted something all-encompassing that can be applied everywhere. But if we need more specific rules for the demo team, or specific rules for the forums, all that, and they were ready to post. We got that out in January. So that was the process. We tried to do a lot of research on what was already existing out there and what we still needed. We were thoughtful about the language. And in terms of the controversy, it's just honestly being respectful to each other. Like, you don't have to agree. You don't have to be politically on one side or the other. You just have to not be a jerk to other people in the community. That's all it is. Bull fucking shit. You want to know how I know that? Because of your massive fucking blocking campaign where you blocked anyone who said, hey, I don't agree with this. People who had even the most banal objection to the community guidelines were outright blocked. Straight up. So, you don't have to agree? Yes, you do. Yes, you fucking do. If you don't, they kick you out. You don't have to be politically on one side or the other. Funny, because it seems like everyone who's been blocked or banned has been on one side. There have been some people with incredibly vile behaviors on the left-hand side of the political aisle who not only still stay in these community spaces, but actively work for Catalyst. You want to tell me that fucking Mike Stackpole and Bishop Steiner get a free pass with all their political bullshit? Don't gaslight me. Don't try to fucking gaslight me and be like, it's just being nice to each other. Fuck you. Fuck you. As if any of us can't see through that with even the most basic scrutiny. Absolutely pathetic. Some people might find that a little difficult, but it's the internet. Been here long enough to know how it goes. Let's take controversial topics head on. What is okay and what is not okay in terms of discussing real-world topics? Okay, here we go. So real-world topics, if it's politics within Battletech, you're welcome to talk about anything lore within the universe. What is also the defining factor of the team that built these community guidelines is that, and I think if it says this in the community guidelines, identity is not political. We'll get into that in a second. Anyone identifying themselves as transgender, or any of the LGBTQ plus options that are out there, they exist, it's not political, they exist and deserve to be treated respectfully. What gets political is if you're going to talk about social movements, if you're going to talk about law or any of that stuff, that is politics, and that's real-world politics, and it just doesn't need to be talked about here. The example I've been using is if you don't believe in gay marriage, I'm not mad at you about that. It's your right to believe in what you want to believe. We're just not going to talk about it in the Battletech spaces. Even if you don't agree with that lifestyle, you should still be respectful of the people in the community who do live that lifestyle. That sounds pretty nice. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like what I've been saying, doesn't it? Just leave all the politics out. Just don't talk about it. I don't care what you've got between your legs. I don't care what you do with another consenting adult in your bedroom. I don't give a shit. Right? But here's the thing. There's the clincher right there. This phrase right here, I would typically agree. Your identity isn't political. But let's back up and see how this all started, shall we? This. Trans rights or I bites. Big flag. The rainbow colors. Big flag of a movement trying to instigate social change in the present day. All over the place. All over the fucking place. Queer tales from the inner sphere. This isn't somebody just being like, this is my identity, right? That's not what this is. That sort of thing doesn't need to be screamed from the rafters, because it's just who you are. It's self-evident. No, you paint your minis in those flag colors, and you display the banner of a social movement on your battle mech, and that's okay. That gets a free pass. That gets official support from the company. That is political. And it's not a hot take to say so. If you are painting your minis in the colors of a social movement's fucking banner, you are being political, and that stuff is still allowed. So it sounds really nice. It sounds really nice to say all that, but they don't fucking practice it. That's not how they handle it. I would agree. I don't care if somebody is LGBTQ plus or whatever the fuck, how many letters they want to add into that acronym. I don't give a shit. It's not my business what you do in your bedroom or with your balls. I don't give a fuck what you do with that. I do give a fuck when you want to come to the table and start showing off your political movement through your miniatures or with your fan fiction, your frankly god-awful fan fiction, and insert it into the Battletech setting. It doesn't belong there. You've just said it doesn't belong there, but you let it in anyway. Because you agree with it. It's another attempt at gaslighting. It's just being nice. Just don't be political. This whole thing started over people not being political in a non-political space. And you want to come along and say, yes, just behave exactly like the original Reddit people told you to behave. But if you do that, we'll come in and we'll intervene and we'll replace your moderators with our own little cronies. Fucking unreal. So let's go a little bit further down. We're going to get into the 3D printing space. I haven't read this part yet, so let's just see what's going on. Let's get into the other controversial topic that came up from a bit of the more tech-focused people in Battletech, protecting the IP. There, the big topic is 3D printing and the sharing of 3D printable digital files, or STL files. Why would sharing STL files for Battletech be a bannable offense, and what is okay and not okay for Battletech fans to share in terms of 3D printed materials? Well, we do want to give warnings, like someone might genuinely not know, and we don't want to ban them immediately for making a mistake. But in terms of protecting the IP, we are stewards of the IP. The IP, belongs to Topps, which is in turn owned by Fanatics, and that whole relationship is messy too. Yes, most definitely. Thank you for admitting to something that, again, we've all speculated about. Catalyst is not a company in a good position. They are in a very fishy and precarious position when it comes to the IP. But let's continue. But as Catalyst, we have approached Topps previously about branching into 3D printing. We know that there's profit to be made there. There's a lot you could do there, and they just have no interest. They don't even want to have a conversation about it. And as stewards of the IP, we have to enforce that in our community. So in our spaces, we just can't talk about 3D prints, can't talk about or promote STLs. Huh. Okay, interesting. So you claim that this is a Topps thing because they don't want you to make 3D printing stuff, so you need to go and police the community-made stuff? Because Topps won't let you make your own? Maybe this is a business thing that I just don't understand, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Let's move on. Word of warning to the community out there, there has been stuff over the years that has been reported to us. We do have to investigate that, and as kindly as possible, do a cease and desist. Not only does keeping it out of our community protect the commitments that we've made to Topps, but we also have deniability. We don't go looking for people doing 3D printing our STLs, but if they find us and are loud about it, it's something we have to investigate it. We have to investigate. It's just better for everyone if we just leave that out of our communities. Okay. So, Catalyst says here, or Rem says here, cease and desists. Historically, 3D printing has not been a problem for the Battletech community. Tons of people put out 3D printable miniatures that can be used as substitutes for Battletech things, and it's just been an acceptable, normal part of the hobby. There's never been any problems with it. So now, for some reason, it's becoming a problem. That's interesting. It's interesting that now they're coming along and saying, we're going to be policing it more. The reason behind it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me either. That it's Topps commitment that we've made to Topps. What commitment? That you won't make your own? Interesting. It's very odd, but I do think that it's a good response to just be like, hey, don't talk about it in the community. We'll turn a blind eye don't report it to us, don't talk about it at all, we'll just leave it out. I think that that's actually a decent response to that, so I'll give credit where it's due there. I think that that's about as good a response as we could hope for. I do find it a bit concerning that it's starting to become an issue now. I know people who make 3D models. I know one person who makes a whole, business out of it. And, like, their stuff is legally distinct, in my opinion, but, like, will, Catalyst see it that way? I don't know. I sincerely hope that they will take the smart side here and be like, hey, we're just not going to touch anything. It sounds like Tops is the one preventing Catalyst from adapting to this technology. One of the things I would have liked to see is redesigned mechs that maybe aren't popular enough to bother manufacturing into force packs, but could be sold as 3D printable models. It's relatively cheap to have an artist redesign the mech. The real expense is getting manufacturers set up to produce that design in plastic. Selling the 3D printing files as something official and legal would be a nice new income stream, but it sounds like Tops is just digging their heels in, making sure the game remains in the 1990s. I would agree with that. I think that could be a good business model. It would certainly help. It does kind of also show Catalyst has trouble getting minis made. And, it is expensive to design a new miniature, and they don't really have the setup for it. People like to talk and crow about how successful their Kickstarters are. The fact that they have to resort to Kickstarter to get miniatures made in the first place is a sign that they're not doing very well financially. Excuse me. Though it doesn't stop them from being so desperate after their PR stunts that they will make and the Urban Mech LAM miniature, 3 different miniatures that can't be used in the tabletop. They will design and create and produce that, but still leave a lot of the stuff people want unmade. But, that's going to be, by and large, the end result of going through this entire article here. It goes on and on and on, but that's more or less the gist of what happened here. The meat and potatoes of this was Rem admitting to having done the coup on the subreddit and created their own Catalyst-approved community moderators. I'd say saying the quiet part out loud, but just straight up just saying what we already knew. Confirming what we already knew. So for those who took a look at what we said previously about this and said, hey, Catalyst didn't actually do all this stuff, or like you're the people that you talk to are just lying about it, which I got a lot of private messages with people saying that my sources were unreliable. Everything that Rem has said here, apart from the framing of it with the guy asking for moderators instead of having them pushed on him, everything other than those little details is exactly what I was told. So, simple reminder that Catalyst does not deserve your cash. They don't like you. They don't want you in their space. They want to make an echo chamber. They want to make a spot where nobody criticizes them, where nobody argues with them, and where everybody just stays quiet and good little consumers all the way through. This you don't have to agree thing is bullshit. We saw that when they went on their massive blocking campaign. Who are you gonna believe? Like, this dude or your lying eyes? You guys were there. A lot of you guys got banned too, right? Blocked, banned, kicked. The whole thing is just a massive, massive mess. And it's not been good for the subreddit either. Like, I'll put up a screenshot that I took here that shows the traffic in the Battletech subreddit following the big kerfuffle that happened last year during Pride Month. The long and short of it is, it's not a healthy place, and the engagement on that subreddit has dropped. They try to claim that it's grown and been stronger than ever. People have left it in droves. It has almost no active posting anymore, outside of like 3 or 4 people. I'll put up those stats. I'll hunt them down and put them up. But long and short of it is, it's not been good for the subreddit. It's killed the subreddit. I have no idea what the metrics are like in the official Catalyst Discord server, because nobody I know is allowed in that Discord server. So I don't have an insider's perspective on that thing. Because anybody I talk to doesn't agree with the situation, and so they aren't allowed in that space. But hey, you know, it's not political. You can be on one side or the other politically, you can disagree. That's okay. That's allowed. We'll just kick you out if you do. Bunch of fucking silliness. But that's the long and short of it. So I've sat here and read it and rambled about it. This hasn't been scripted, it's not high effort. I am still working on more videos. I hope you guys will bear with me. And thank you for sitting through this. But this came out and I just had to talk about it, man. I mean, look at it. The whole thing. I do a chair spin and say, fuck you, I was right, but I don't want to be sued for copyright infringement. So I'll content myself with, thank you all for watching. Until next time, it's Mage Leader, signing off.